Say, Watson, what sort of mystery have we found ourselves this time?
Sherlock, we have a murder most foul. The victim appears to be a male, approximately 30 years of age, dressed in cargo pants and a grey t-shirt.
My, how terribly generic. And you suspect foul play?
Indeed, the events that transpired, as I surmise them, are as thus. The man was working outside when he heard someone approach. Fearing for his life, he ran into the house. The man caught up to him, shot him in the living room, and jumped out through this window.
What a fascinating conclusion. You are apt, my dear Watson, but you still have much to learn.
Oh?
If the events did transpire as you suppose, then I ask, how do you explain the car?
The car outside? Well, that's simply a spawn car. You can tell because the lights are off.
The lights are off, yes, but that can't explain the fence nearby. Do you notice how part of the fence, immediately behind the vehicle, is missing?
You're right. The attacker must have driven their car through the fence.
Indeed.
But then, the rest of my theory still holds true. The attacker drove the car through the fence, stepped out, chased the victim into the house, shot him in the living room, and escaped through the window.
Why do you believe the attacker shot the victim in the living room?
Well, of course, because the victim lies here dead, Sherlock.
Yet that does not prove your conjecture. Note the positions of the bullet holes in the kitchen wall. And note the location of the victim's body against the opposite wall. Surely the attacker could not have shot the victim here, since the bullet holes are in the opposite wall.
I see, Sherlock, but then, where did the attacker shoot the victim?
When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. The only conclusion, then, is that it was in fact the victim who shot the bullets.
Oh my, Sherlock. If that is so, then wouldn't the victim have defended himself outside the house instead of fleeing?
Indeed he would have. Yet it surely is not the case that the attacker's original plan was to kill the victim and loot his body.
Why wouldn't it be? PUBGs kill each other every day for loot on this island.
Well, that is true. It is not the motive in this circumstance. Take a look at the victim once more. What do you see?
I see that he has only an empty pistol.
But what about his clothes?
What about them?
They are so basic. Cargo pants and a grey t-shirt? Why, those are the most uninteresting clothes one could imagine. If this player had any skill, experience, or resources, he would have better cosmetics. Yet he has not a scarf, nor punk goggles, nor even fingerless gloves, for God's sake. There is no possible way anyone hoped to murder this person to loot his possessions.
But then, Sherlock, why would somebody murder this noob man?
I believe his murder was not premeditated, as you assumed, but rather the result of unfortunate circumstance.
You're right. The door to the bedroom is opened outward, toward the kitchen. The victim must have been in there when the attacker drove up, entered the house, and started looting. Then the victim opened the door, opened fire on the attacker, and was struck down.
Well done, Watson. Yet there's one detail you have overlooked. The window.
What about the window?
Its glass is intact. If the aggressor did flee through this aperture, then they would have shattered the glass as they jumped through.
I suppose you're correct. Well then, they must have fled through this door.
Yet if they fled through the door, surely they would have taken their car to aid their escape. Since the murderer has entered the building, but has not yet left, we must conclude.
My God, you were right, Sherlock. The murderer was just above us this entire time. But then, we must know, what loot could possibly have driven this man to murder and die?
It's elementary, dear Watson. The pan.